It took me a while to track Roy down. Roy Venkataraman was a name I heard often when I was growing up in India in the 80s and 90s. I knew of him as the Indian guitar player for Bob Marley's legendary band the Wailers. He's widely considered reggae royalty, at least here in India. Roy started his career in Bombay playing with some of the most popular bands in the country and then moved to the US where he garnered a wealth of experience playing and recording with artists including Atlantis and Keith Benson. He also played with groundbreaking indo-jazz band Divya at some of the biggest jazz festivals internationally, including the Jazz Yatra in India. Roy also did concerts and worked with the legendary pianist Louis Banks as his main sessions guitarist for a few years. His own album Lifelines features world-renowned musicians Clive Stevens, Randy Brecker, Adam Holzman and Rachel Z amongst others. Roy was invited to join Bob Marley's Wailers band and toured the world with them for years. Roy has scored music for well-known filmmaker Govind Nihalani and toured with Jeremy Spencer, the co-founder of Fleetwood Mac, and has also recorded with various well-known artists worldwide. Roy now lives in Sydney, Australia. He has shared stages with Simply Red, Third World, Maxi Priest, Sly and Robbie, UB40, Lauryn Hill, Julian Marley, Steel Pulse and countless others, and also plays guitar with the widely popular New Zealand reggae band House of Shem. I had the privilege of listening to some of his new music that's an eclectic mix of jazz, Sufi and electronica. The music you hear in the intro to this podcast is from Roy's album Horizontal Life. I caught up with Roy and we traced his multi-decade career from Mumbai to Sydney. I want to go back to the beginning and, I know you grew up in Mumbai. So what was that like? What were your early days like? Do you come from a background of music?
Yeah. Well, actually, my mom was, she and her sisters, used to sing, and they were probably like the first, people who sort of sang Western music on all the radio and things back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and my dad was like a really awesome Carnatic singer, not professional.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So the grooves were always there at home, and there was always like some good music playing around.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And this was in Bandra, right? You grew up in Bandra?
Yeah.
That was like would it be fair to say that Bandra was like the suburb of music in Bombay at that point?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I've never thought about it that way. Actually, but it was because they used to have, the zonal talent contests and stuff like that. Which I was part of, for a while. Yeah, and it was a very musical suburb. There was always like music blasting out of somebody's
Correct.
house.
Yeah.
And, it was awesome. Yeah.
But you didn't get any. Your parents were not opposed to the idea of you taking up music as a career.
It just sort of happened. It just sort of happened because I got so much into music by the time I was like pretty young.
Okay.
I started playing with bands when I was like 12 and 13. Yeah, and there was never a point where sort of I decided, I want to be a musician or something. It just sort of happened.
Yeah.
It just sort of happened. Yeah. And my dad unfortunately passed away like when I was 15. And of course, being from a Tambram sort of thing, everybody wants you to be a doctor or an engineer and all. But I just got into the music.
So did you have is there like a Kerala connection or is there a Chennai connection at all?
Both, because my dad was from Chennai.
Oh, okay.
And I was from Kerala. Yeah. So but I generally always knew Malayalam more than Tamil.
Yeah.
Because we really have too much connection with my dad's side.
Correct. Yeah. But what was the scene like in Mumbai? What was the music scene in those days in India? Was it a very vibrant, especially with jazz? Because I know, I've read that, Duke Ellington had played in India. I think this was at some point in
Yeah,
the 60s. Dave Brubeck had played. Carlton Keto, I think,
yeah.
was between Madras and Bangalore. What was the scene like in Bombay at that point?
Um, like when I was
Hmm.
growing up and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that sort of stuff. I mean, that happened like before, like probably in the late '60s and all.
Hmm. Hmm.
But yeah, I just had like a lot of music around me. Like my uncle was a shipping captain, and so
Hmm.
he was
Hmm.
into jazz. And so we had a whole lot of like Sinatra and Mel Torme and
Yeah.
Astrid Gilberto um, and George Benson and Wes Montgomery stuff
Yeah.
at home, schools,
Uh-huh.
the old schools and B.B. King.
Yeah.
And so when I was about 9, I started listening to all that stuff, and
Hmm.
it just naturally sort of
Yeah.
yeah, I just imbibed all that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Because I've read that Calcutta had a very vibrant music scene back in the day. Uh,
yeah, yeah,
y-
yeah, they
yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially with
lot,
jazz and
lot of
stuff like
jazz
that.
guys and Louis Banks and Pam Crane and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but I want to talk, about your first band. You had an indo-jazz band, was that right? Called Divya.
Um, well, that was much later actually because that was like in '87.
Okay,
But I
okay,
started, my first band was in probably '72 or something when I was like 12 when I played with Bashir from the Savages.
uh-huh.
And yeah, I did that. And then my sister and my sister is also really talented. And she
Okay,
used to sing and play rhythm guitar. And we had a band called Synthetic Frost. And we
Nice.
won the All India Beat Contest in back in '76, I think.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And at that time, like we were doing cover, like Yes and King Crimson,
Nice. Okay, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and all that sort of thing.
Uh-huh.
And then, yeah, and then I just, my sister was like, no, she saw the musician's life, and that is not doing and so she quickly backed out. And then, like, then I joined a couple of other bands in Atomic Forest, and when I was like really young.
Oh, Atomic
And
Forest, yeah. They were
yeah, when I
I've read
was,
about them, yeah.
yeah, when I was like 15, when I was 16 or 17 or something,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I joined them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and from there I just started playing. Then I joined I did the hotel circuit
Yeah.
with jazz bands, and also I you
Yeah.
get the habit of all sorts of music,
Yeah.
and that's
There
really
was
good.
no real recorded music back in the day, was there? There was a big wedding band scene. I remember somebody telling me Bandra had a huge wedding band scene, right? And
Yeah, like all over Bombay and stuff,
yeah,
and yeah, yeah. But there was also those days all the rock shows and
yeah.
things like that. Yeah, so like I was always in one band or the other for for quite a while. Yeah,
Nice. So the this band Divya happened in 87, was it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Before that, like I went to the States and I lived there for a few years, and I was doing a lot of like R&B and stuff and funk and jazz and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got back, and after a couple of years, I joined Divya with
Mm-hmm.
Dinsha's band, and yeah, we sort of formed the band, and yeah, that was really great because it was like one of the first bands that actually did like Indo fusion
Yeah.
stuff and like seriously Indo fusion things.
So that's
Yeah.
basically that was jazz music with Indian and classical influences, is it?
Yes. Yeah, and it was like North Indian and South Indian
Mm-hmm.
classical
Mm-hmm.
thing, and we had Fazil Qureshi playing tabla,
Mm-hmm.
Zakir Hussain's brother,
Yeah.
and yeah, and Shankar Mahadevan was singing, and then it was like the whole like full jazz rock
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
And you played the Jazz Yatra, was it back then?
yeah, we did the Jazz Yatra, and then we also toured Europe and did a whole lot of festivals
Mm-hmm.
all over, you know. like all the good, like the really big festivals. So that was an awesome experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the Jazz Yatra like in those days? I've read that it was a week long thing and apparently used to be packed every night.
Yeah, yeah. It was at least I think about 3, 4 or 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
But there were at least uh, five, six or seven bands every day,
Mm-hmm.
and like the best, some of the
Yeah.
best music in the world,
Mm-hmm.
like Stan Getz and Joe Williams, and
Amazing.
yeah, yeah, it was really, really awesome and inspiring,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you just heard everything. Like there was all sorts of jazz. It wasn't just like straight ahead jazz. There
Yeah.
was fusion and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I was reading that it was basically it came together because I think the consulates of a lot of these countries wanted to promote music, and I think America was at the forefront of this.
Yeah, and like the main guy behind it was this man called Niranjan Zaveri.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he's the guy who actually got the whole thing together and got it started, and then got in touch with all the foreign consulates and all, and got them to get great musicians down, like Clark
Yeah,
Terry, and like from France, Didier Lockwood, and from
yeah,
like there was everybody. There was
yeah.
everybody. Woody
It's
Shaw.
amazing because I read that the Jazz Yatra was basically promoted by Jazz India, that were just they were
Yeah,
just a bunch of jazz aficionados,
yeah,
and
yeah,
apparently sponsorships were not an issue. Getting these big names down was not an issue, and quite
yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, it was really awesome, and I think the first one was in '78, if I'm
78,
not
yeah, I think so.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think it
yeah,
ran for about 26 years, right? I think it ran till about 2004. There was the Jazz Yatra.
yeah. I'm not sure to when
Hmm.
because I left India around 2002.
Okay.
Yeah, and I moved to New Zealand.
Hmm.
But, yeah, I think it was still happening.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You also played the Yatra in the USSR and some part of the Eastern Bloc, right?
yeah. Well, no, no, that wasn't part of the yatra. That was part of like the what was it? The Festival of India
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
in yeah. So I went to Divya
Yeah,
over there, and there were a few bands from India that went to like different places in the USSR.
yeah.
So we went to Russia and we went to Kazakhstan and places like that. Yeah.
Amazing. So was it a
Yeah.
very flourishing scene in the Eastern Bloc back then? Poland, Hungary, and all that? Did they have a big jazz scene?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, there's some mind-blowing jazz musicians over there, and like from way before I also went over
Yeah,
there. But
yeah,
they were like really good. I remember once, just like we used to like hang out and party every night and stuff,
yeah,
and the next like early morning, a couple of these guys have come, like they've
yeah.
already had the vodkas and stuff like that. And like, yeah, this guy came with his bass and he started playing like Jaco Pastorius, man. And he had
Oh
made his
man.
own, because back in the day, I'm saying
Yeah,
like 87 or something, it was like, they couldn't get like proper instruments and all over there.
correct.
So
Yeah.
the guy made his own bass and yeah, but there, besides, I mean, I'm just saying, there are a hell of a lot of great musicians. This is Big New, Damislawski,
Mm-hmm.
and Laboratorium from Poland.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, really close friend of mine, Christoph, the bass player.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
then like,
amazing because I've read that the Eastern Bloc had a very flourishing jazz scene back
yeah,
then.
and they have their own sound. Like you could hear the band and know that this is something different, and like it was totally jazz,
Yeah,
but so Eastern Bloc and like
yeah,
their own sort of way of composing, and yeah, it was really brilliant.
yeah.
Brilliant.
What has been the influence of Indian music on jazz? Has there been some synergy there? Because I've heard people say that back then film music had a lot of jazz elements to it and things like that. Is there any truth to that?
Yeah, they were influenced. A lot of the old composers of Indian like Bollywood stuff.
Yeah.
They were like, so a few of them were like pretty influenced by jazz. music and like basically the Western sound,
Yeah.
And of course, like people like John Coltrane and so many others like were so into the Indian,
Yeah,
Indian
exactly.
music thing of scales and the heart and
Yeah.
the rhythm.
I think John McLaughlin, I was reading, also was hugely influenced. I think he was a
Absolutely.
devotee of Sri Chinmoy, and when he had come to India, I think the whole Mahavishnu orchestra.
Yeah. He was heavily influenced by India, and that's why he's always been coming there since like donkey's years. He's always been there. And,
Yeah.
you
I think he's got a band now or a project with Ranjit Bharat, who you played with in Divya, right?
Yeah. Fifth Dimension, I think.
Fifth Dimension, I think. Yeah. There was another great story of how Soli Sorabji, who was the governor of Karnataka back then, apparently was a huge jazz fan and wanted to have these jazz listening sessions at the Raj Bhavan.
Yeah.
But, there was some political thing and it didn't happen.
Yeah, but he was a huge part of he was like a sort of mentor and thing for the Jazz India with Niranjan Sabu.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was it really helped, I guess. Having somebody like him push everything.
Yeah. That's amazing. So, how long was your stint in Divya?
I think the first the first 2 or 3 albums.
Okay.
Yeah, like right from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
From 87 till about 89.
Okay.
Yeah, and then when we got back from Russia, at the same time, Louis Banks and his band with Carl Peters and all of them, they were playing in Russia too. And so we were always like mingling and all that. So as soon as I got back to Bombay, Louis said, "Hey, come and join my band." And at that time, they were also sort of everybody sort of moved here and there.
Yeah. What was that like working with Louis Banks? I mean, he's like the godfather of Indian jazz, right?
Yeah, he's brilliant. He's just a brilliant musician and a fantastic pianist. Yeah, it was always great working with him. The most he's a really mellow guy, and he knows exactly what he wants. He can't bullshit about anything. Yeah, and we did like some really good concerts, especially Louis and Ranjit and me and Carl Peters.
Yeah,
we did some really kick-ass concerts. But then he was also at that time doing a lot of jingles and stuff, film and all that. So at that point, I was with him all the time as in his sessions.
Yeah, he was doing some stuff with R.D. Burman, right? Then
that was before.
Okay.
Yeah, that was before he got into, when he first came to Bombay, like from Calcutta and all that. He got into the Bollywood sort of thing.
Yeah.
With R.D. Burman and all that. Yeah. But then he quickly branched out on his own and
So that's how you got into jingles and corporate films as well?
Yeah, because we were doing at that point like sometimes like 5 or 6 jingles a day, and this went on for years. And this was like at the prime time, and like it was absolutely we were. It was like a 9 to 5 job. I'd get up in the morning and go to the studio, and just be there. Me and Carl Peters was also there doing all the bass parts. And and then Louis would do the writing, and then he would just call us, "Come on, Roy, Carl, the parts down." He would just go ahead and zap the parts, and then chill out and wait for the next jingle, which would be in another hour or so.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we did that for years. Man.
It must have been more lucrative, right, than playing music.
Yeah, it certainly paid the bills, and it was like good money.
Yeah, exactly.
More money than it's not like back in the day there was like a gig every day or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'd really have it, but we were always doing concerts and all that, so that was great. Yeah,
But
that was good.
was that transition hard for you, Roy, as a from playing clubs and live shows to sitting in a studio and doing these ad films and jiggles?
Not really, not really. Actually, I just sort of melded into it because like I've done quite a bit of like recordings and
Hmm.
stuff before. Yeah, and even in America, I had a lot of experience playing with bands and recording and stuff like that. But yeah, so it was, and I was always into all sorts of music, all good music,
Yeah,
funk and blues and jazz and rock and everything.
yeah.
So yeah, it was just a natural progression for me.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
going to ask you actually because one, what influence did Louis Banks have on your life, and two, he is a very versatile musician himself, right? So I was just wondering if your own versatility kind of comes from that influence of seeing him do so many different things so seamlessly.
Um, yeah, no, I mean his was like playing with him was a great experience. But the thing is, like from before that, like for
Hmm.
all those years before that, like for about 15 years before that, I was always doing
Yeah.
all sorts of stuff. Like even in the States, I was like playing with a funk band and with a R&B band, and so I had all these different colors,
Yeah, yeah,
all
yeah.
floating around, and I played everything.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it was like, and then Divya happened, and then Louis happened, and with Divya it was a full-on
Yeah.
hardcore, jazz fusion sort of thing. Yeah, yeah, you just keep
Just
moving.
evolve. Yeah. So did you go to
Yeah.
the States to study music?
No, no, I just went. I actually just went as a tourist when I was like 21, not 20. I was before that I was playing with like in the hotel, circuit and all that. And then I just got fed up and said, "Man, what the hell am I doing here? I need to, excuse me." Yeah. And I just moved to the States on like a tourist visa and then stayed there for about 3 years.
Wow.
Had some immigration hassles. Yeah, but the thing is, I joined a really, really good band in Philadelphia
Hmm.
pretty fast, and they were one of the like really top bands playing there. And yeah, so when I went there, I just went to like literally as a tourist go and probably catch some concerts by all my favorite bands and stuff like
Exactly.
that.
Yeah.
Come back after 2 months, but the thing is, after 2 months, I mean, just before that, like my visa, I mean, I joined this band, and then my visa expired, which I had no clue of because I was pretty young, and I just got it wrong, and then I got picked up by the immigration and spent some time.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Or in fact, I spent my 21st birthday in prison. Okay, and anyway, but the band that I was playing with, they got a lawyer and got me out and stuff like that. And then I continued playing with them, and yeah, so I just hung out there as long as I could because I was just like sort of imbibing all the good vibes of the
Fabulous.
R&B.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hip hop had also just sort of actually, that's the time hip hop actually started, like
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
Grandmaster Flash and all that stuff. And yeah, so I was a part of that. So I mean, yeah, so yeah, that was a huge, huge influence, and it was a great learning experience for me. Yeah,
Brilliant. So
yeah.
is this about the time that the Wailers thing happened?
No, the Wailers thing happened like when I was playing with Louis,
Okay.
and then and then like Ranjit Barrett and me and Carl and all of us, we formed another band called Big Picture, and we played at the Jazz Yatra.
Yeah.
And around the same time, this was in like '92.
Okay.
So yeah, and at the same time, like the Wailers happened to come to town, and I
Oh,
just
they played
happened
in
to.
Bombay, is it?
Yeah, they were touring. They were doing like a world tour, and they finished Australia, I think, and they were on their way back to America and Jamaica and all that.
Hmm.
And yeah, they happened to have this gig in Bombay, and that was actually the same day that I was playing at the Jazz Yatra. The day they were doing their gig, they were like I was playing at the Jazz Yatra with Big Picture. Okay, and yeah, so I just happened to meet Junior Marvin from the Wailers at the press conference at the President Hotel, where we used to always hang out and stuff like that. And he sort of figured out that I'm like totally into reggae because like I knew quite a lot, and I was totally into it. So he said, "Man, come and jam with us tomorrow." I met him the day before that, and I was thinking, "Oh man, no chance!" Like, hey, like no way, that's ridiculous, man. So I went home and just telling my friends and my cousin Tilly. I told him, and he said, "Man, bro, you just go and like, yeah, go for it." I said, "Like what? Play like what?" He said, "Yeah, do get up, stand up." So I thought about that, and I went the next day, and like I was pretty stressed out because I had to be at the Jazz Yatra too. But luckily, Wailers were playing at the Cooperage. It was not that far from the Rangbaman where the Jazz Yatra was. So I remember going and telling Junior and Fams and all that, like, "Hey man, like I can do like this song with you, but I have to run after that, And I was waiting there and like expecting him to call me, and Junior was not calling me on stage. And then finally, just like I was checking out the time, and he said, "Okay, and now we'd like to call Roy on stage." And I went and played with them. And I played this one song with them, and I like split.
And you took off, yeah.
Get off in my car and reached to the Jazz Yatra, and I just went, and it was just about time. I just strapped my guitar and went and did a totally different gig, man.
Amazing.
And honestly, like till today, I almost don't even remember being there because the buzz of playing with the Wailers and just getting sound and playing with the real of reggae, like it was mind blowing. Yeah.
So this is Ziggy Marley and the Wailers, is it?
No, this is the original Wailers. But Junior Marvin was singing, and like obviously Bob had passed away.
Yeah.
And but this was like the original Wailers with Aston Family Man Barrett. I mean, he's like the boss of the thing.
Yeah. So there was Peter Tosh was there as well.
No, he had already passed away. So because this was 92, right?
Oh yeah, correct, yeah.
Yeah. But the original band that always played with Bob Marley. Yeah. All Wild Indo and Ego Patterson and
Amazing. So then they called you back after the jam. They called you back, and
what happened was like they were recording the show on video, and I just went and did my gig with the Jazz Yatra, and then those days like we used to always hang at the President Hotel always like
that's in Colaba, right?
Yeah, in Colaba, yeah. And we were sitting and chatting in the coffee shop and stuff, and a couple of these Jamaican dudes come down and pull me out and say, "Hey, Roy, like hello, like just come, like." So I said, "Yeah." So they took me up to Family Man, the bass player's room, and over there I went, and like Junior and all of them and Fams and all, like just watching the song where I had played,
Yeah.
And I did a small neat solo there. And they were just like, grooving to it, and nobody's saying a word. So I'm wondering what the hell am I doing? And then like Junior looks at me and says, "Oh man, we've been like looking for the right guitar player for a while, like and I think you suit the thing. And would you like to join the band?" So like I thought he was kidding, I said, "Are you kidding, man?" So he said, No, seriously." So I said, "Yeah, for sure." And then he said, "Okay. Once we get back to Jamaica and all that, don't worry, I'll be in touch with you in a month and a half or something." And I said, "Okay, cool." And I thought, yeah, for sure. But exactly on the day he was supposed to call me, he called me and said, "Roy, okay, my manager, we're doing our next tour in Europe, and my manager is going to send you all the tour information, which was about like 60 concerts, and he's going to, organize." So it all happened, and I had to run around getting visas. Back then you had to get a visa for
Yeah.
each country in Europe. So I had to get like about 20 visas. And yeah, that's how it started. And my first gig was in Nuremberg in Germany.
Germany. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and then never looked back.
Amazing. What was that like? Did you guys play big stadiums and stuff? What was that like with the
Oh, we did
Wailers?
like all the huge, pretty huge concerts. We did a stadiums once in a way, but not really. It was more like huge, like
Hmm.
like big theaters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did
yeah,
you? I'm guessing you played in Jamaica as well, right?
yeah, yeah.
What was that
Yeah,
like?
that was great. And for me, it was awesome to be there. And Junior Marvin, he lived just like 2 houses away from Bob Marley's house,
Yeah.
on Hope Road. So I was living with him, all that time. And we used to always go down to Bob's house and hang out and chill out. And then we did like all of Jamaica, toured all over there, and we did a
Yeah.
Caribbean tour of the Caribbean and stuff. Yeah,
Hmm.
and South America. Yeah.
But it's amazing, right? How Bob Marley's artistic legacy has, in a sense, become an industry now today, right? You see it everywhere from this just Bob Marley everywhere, from merchandise to t-shirts to lamps to all kinds of things.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess Bob was so big that it was just a natural, natural
Yeah,
thing to happen. Like I remember, like even in Jamaica, when I went to, just like we would always get like T-shirts and all from our gigs, because there's always the local promoters who
yeah.
make Wailers T-shirts and stuff like that. So I could start a shop with that. But like in Jamaica, I found like the best T-shirts and all that, and checked out, and the owner was an Indian simple guy. Yeah, yeah, the best chef. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Are there any
yeah.
shows with the Wailers that's really stand out for you?
Um, I did like hundreds and hundreds, and all of them were good. But for me, it's like so much all about the music
Yeah,
that that whether you're playing to like 100 people, of course it never was 100, but I'm just saying it wasn't about the audience or anything. It's just being on stage and feeling the vibe and that groove, and it's
yeah,
it's such a fantastic thing that almost every gig was awesome.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
who drove the vision for the band, Roy? Was it Peter Tosh? Was it Bob Marley?
It was, I mean, definitely Bob Marley
Mm-hmm.
and Pete Tosh and all at that point. But from the time I joined, it was definitely Junior Marvin,
Mm-hmm.
who and he was there like from I think from Exodus or before from that album.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah, yeah. So because he was now the front man
Mm-hmm.
and doing all the vocals and playing great guitar and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
but none of them were as political as Bob Marley was, right?
Yeah, but Bob also wasn't really political. He was just minding his own business. It
Mm-hmm.
just so happened that his lyrics were, had so much to say.
Yeah,
It had
exactly,
so much to say that it troubled
exactly.
people
Yeah,
who were not doing, doing the right thing.
yeah. He really became the symbol, right, of peace and everything for that country, right, for that nation.
Yeah, and I'll tell you one thing: anywhere on earth you go, people love Bob Marley. And all his songs anywhere. Like you can go east, west, north, or south. You even on an island in the Pacific, which
Yeah,
is like on quite a few. Oh, everybody loves it because it's just he was just a natural spiritual mystic. You
yeah,
know
yeah.
what it was. Yeah,
But
just
tell me,
saying.
Roy, do you see any similarity between what jazz stands for and what reggae stands for?
Um, not really, because jazz is so much about like improvisation and saying what you want in that second.
Mm-hmm.
And reggae, well, as a guitar player also,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
reggae is so much about just staying on the groove and doing the right thing. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you can be doing like jazz, you can be, especially like fusion and all that, you can be doing some hardcore $1 million, having million notes a minute
Yeah.
riffs, but but that's what with reggae, it's you're just doing the right thing, the right note, playing the right thing at the right time. Even when I first joined the Wailers, I thought I was doing everything right for the first like few concerts and all that. But you soon realize how little you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and although I've always been into it, and like ever since like I was a kid, and like the first time I heard reggae was probably in 1960 nine 70 when I heard Bob Marley's Talking Blues.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first song I heard, and it just blew my mind, man. It was so different and so honest and so down to earth.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and I always, wanted to know what reggae. Being in India, there was like nothing, man. There was no reggae
Yeah.
music. You had some Jimmy
Correct.
Cliff and Desmond Decker and stuff like that on the radio. Back in the day, like once a week there would be, and at that point I lived in Madras, and there used to be like I think once a week for sure. Like for 1 hour there was some like good Western music. I don't know if it came from BBC or something, but yeah, and they played a whole mixture of stuff. But I used to wait for that Bob Marley track,
Wow.
and then after that, I never heard any reggae for quite a while until then I moved back to Bombay, and then through my friends and stuff, heard Bob Marley, and then of course, got into it, and of course, then all the other reggae
Yeah.
like Steve
Yeah.
Wells and everybody else. Yeah,
How long were you with the Wailers, Roy?
for like constantly for about like 3 years
Mm-hmm.
nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like just touring and doing, all the time. But then like even like since I moved to New Zealand now to Australia, like whenever they've come, most of the time I always like play with them and
Oh, nice.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So we're always in touch and everything. Yeah,
So,
it's just that I moved to the other end.
Sorry, Roy.
It's just that I moved to the other end of the world.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Because I remember reading about it in the 90s that there was an Indian guitar player who joined the Wailers. And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know anybody from India that's made it, that's joined an international, band. At least when I was growing up, there was no one.
Yeah, that was a blessing.
Yeah, but back then I think there was so little. I mean, obviously we didn't have social media and things, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. There was nothing,
and your name has stuck in my brain ever since, right? Ever since I know this, Indian guitar player who played for the Wailers. So tell me, did the whole Jeremy Spencer thing happen after the Wailers?
Yeah, that was after. Before that, like I went to like New York and I did my own album, which is like more jazz, like and like I got some really fantastic jazz musicians like Randy Brecker and
Yeah.
Adam Holzman and Albert Menendez and all that to play on that, and that was just something I needed to do, because at that point, like that was towards the end of working with Louis and all, and I was totally into writing my own jazz stuff and all that, and yeah, so I did that album, and then I came back, and then I went back to the States sometime and did a hip hop thing with rappers and stuff like that, and then when I got back. Around that time was when Jeremy Spencer's thing came up. Yeah, so yeah, we like a whole blues thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, straight head blues, and that was fun. Yeah.
This was
So we
with
did.
he had a band called Children of God, didn't he?
I think he was part of that whole Children of God thing back in the day, which started like in the 70s and I mean
Yeah.
maybe late 70s and all that. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I have friends who are with Children of God, back then, and I didn't even know that Jeremy Spencer was part of it. But yeah, so I think that's when he left Fleetwood Mac actually.
Yeah.
Because he found this other calling, and he joined them, and he felt good with that, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, what was that like working with Spencer? Because I remember reading somewhere that there was this guy in Fleetwood Mac who went to buy groceries and he never came back,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they found him.
yeah. Yeah, that's what happened. Yeah, yeah. But yeah,
Did you find
um,
him easy to work with?
yeah, because I've done a lot of blues and stuff before also in the States, and I've always been into like B.B. King and Albert Collins and all the guys, and it was surprising. Like he was pretty much into Elvis and things like that. Yeah, which I was like pretty surprised about. But yeah, but he had his own take on it.
Yeah.
And his own arrangements, and yeah, so it was like real. It was nice to do those gigs with him. Yeah.
Amazing. And then you did a film project as well with Govind Nihalani. That was an English film.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
That was
interesting because it was a film with no song and dance. I didn't know until when I was doing my research. It
yeah,
said that was India's first futuristic film. I think it was a science fiction film, right?
yeah, yeah. It was great because Govind is he's such a brilliant man and such a great director. And it was like quite an honor that he like asked me to come and do his film.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, but back then, like I had just this like one keyboard, like this one, this keyboard here, and I did the entire film on this one chord trinity, everything, including the sounds and the effects and everything, because by then I'd like got totally into the synth and got into all
Yeah.
the different. Yeah, but it was so great working with him and doing the music. Yeah, for the film, that was yeah.
Is
It
it
was
is it a
great.
very different mind space and thought process? Writing music as part of a band and scoring music for
Yeah,
a film.
yeah, definitely, because you really have to get into the whole characters
Mm-hmm.
of the whole vibe of the situation, and you got to. But what I was doing was I would compose my bits, and I always worked for like I think for about I don't know maybe 3 months or something. I was constantly working with Govind and at his office and studio,
Yeah.
and I would like compose my parts and play it for him, and he would say, "Oh, okay, that's good. Okay, maybe you can just change something here, or just something." He didn't really change too much, and that's how I went on, from scene to scene and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like he was really happy
Was
with
that was
the.
that the only film you did, Roy? There's never been a temptation to do more work in Bollywood.
Yeah, I didn't really want to do the Bollywood stuff. I wouldn't mind even today. At any given second, I'd love to do a nice arty film. It's about like life and reality and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always open to that, but I wasn't really into the Bollywood sound. And I've worked in the Bollywood industry too for a while. I've done all that. It's always great. It's a great experience, and you see how they work and the way
Yeah.
things work with them. You know, and yeah, I did quite a bit of that too, but as a sessions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you moved to Australia after this, right?
No, then I moved to New Zealand.
Okay. And you live in New Zealand now, or you live in Sydney now?
No, I lived in New Zealand for 10 years, and
Okay.
then I moved to Australia. Yeah, and I
Mhm.
live in Sydney.
And
Yeah.
your current projects, you put out a project. Buzz Bahadur was a
Yeah,
project.
yeah. That was like uh, yeah, more electronica, jazz,
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing. I did that some time back, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm always writing a whole lot of stuff. Like I've got like hundreds of tracks which I need to put out.
Yeah.
But never just find the time. They're all at about like 95%. I'm just thinking, yeah, I need to put a sax solo here or a keyboard solo there. Excuse me. Yeah, they're always, they're at that stage most of the time. But I'm always writing stuff. A lot of hip hop and electronica, jazz influenced,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah.
Do you have anything coming out anytime soon?
Yeah, I think I should start putting out something. Yeah, in the next couple of months, I think I will. Yeah, put out.
Yeah.
At least
Lastly, Roy, before I let you go, you do a lot of stuff outside of music as well. I read that you're a chef and you used to run a cafe in New Zealand.
Yeah, I'm just like a foodie, and like I've always been into like cooking and stuff like that. So back when I was in New Zealand towards the end, I just told my wife, "Come on, man, I want to start. I want to do this thing. Let's
Yeah.
start." And I had my own sort of cafe where we used to have like jazz nights on the weekends and stuff like that. And I used to play with the band and with my friends who were like really, really awesome musicians. And we had a great crowd of about like 50, 60 people who would come and would cook. And I would design the menu and cook most of it, and my wife too.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that was really great, man. It went on really well, and actually, it was one of the most happening places in Auckland at that point. Yeah, because it was such a good vibe and like lovely music and good vibes, and even though nobody knew each other,
Yeah.
it was like we were all part of one community when we came there.
Yeah.
But then, like the guy who owned the place, like he used to have a cafe there before, and he said, and it was like a pretty flopped out. And once I took it over with zero experience, just my passion for like food and stuff like that. Yeah, we did pretty well. So he just sort of, literally doubled the. Yeah, and then we said, "Oh man, we can't continue with this.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're not doing it just to make money or something. It
Yeah.
was just like just a passion and stuff." So then, yeah, we just said,
What kind of food were you guys serving? Was it Indian food by any chance?
It was like sort of a fusion cuisine. Yeah, like a bit of Indian and everything, just stuff that I would dream up in my head. But somehow, every plate came back empty, and everybody loved it. And we used to do like a 4 or 5 course meal and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was awesome.
it's like a throwback to the early Bandra days, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I just, it's all about music and family and friends and food. And
Yeah. That's it for this week's episode of Tales from the Road. Tales from the Road is brought to you by the concert photographer and moving pictures media. Don't forget to join us next week for another episode. If you like what you heard, subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or Google Play. Thank you for listening.